Now, while most people in that situation would go, I guess I'm stuck with what I do. I guess I can't change careers. I guess, oh, well, I would, but I can't. He decided to actually put his money where his mouth is. He didn't like the lack of security. So he'd work his 8 or 10 hour day, and then he would go to school at night for a couple of hours. My dad was leaving the house at 4 or 5 in the morning, getting home at 11 o'clock in the evening, and he did this for a year. And he wasn't, he wasn't one of those weekend dads either. He wasn't one of those people that said, I'm going to play with my son on the weekend, or, yeah, good job with that drawing, kiddo, and then went back to his newspaper. He wanted to be actively engaged in my life. Again, whether I was 2 years old, 12 years old, or 22 years old, my dad always wanted to be actively engaged in my life. So he would wake up at 5 or 7 in the morning, work until 4 or 5 or 6, go to school until 9, 10, or 11, and be on that express bus until 12 in the morning. But if I was up and I ran out of my room and I wanted to talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes, he would listen, and he wouldn't just fall asleep. Well, and he did this for about a year. And then he finally got a minimum wage, minimum wage job where you had to work 12 to 17 hours a day in order to take home anything that would pay a mortgage in New York. A minimum wage job as a chef. And my mother wasn't exactly an encouraging person. I don't want to get into things about my mother too much, but she wasn't an encouraging person. She would look at you and say, why are you doing that? Why are you doing something so stupid? You're gonna fail. You're a loser. You're a bum. Why are you even trying to do this? Don't just this is not what you should be doing with your life. She would go on and on, beating you down if you were in a weak spot. So if you were in a weak or vulnerable or insecure place, my mother would pretty much beat you down and explain to you how you were going to fail. And she did that to me my entire life, and she also did that to my father. So my dad would come home after the 16 to 17 hour day, and then he would have somebody explain to him how he's going to fail, how none of it's going to work out. And he didn't come up with an excuse as to why to not do it. He said, this is why I'm doing this, and he decided to move forward. Now, after several years of working, crap jobs and things like that, let's fast forward. He became first cook at the Plaza Hotel. This is a hotel that by their 1996 rates, I cannot afford to stay at as a small business. I can't afford to have a fucking room there and eat there as a small business owner based on their rates in 1995. Much less now. And he was the first cook. He wasn't the assistant chef. He was the one who told other chefs, here is what we're cooking today, here's how we're doing it. He's the one who prepared the menu, prepared the recipes, and you can look it up. The Plaza Hotel, I think it's on 59th and Broadway, around there. It's in the most expensive area of Manhattan. This is the most expensive hotel in the most expensive area of Manhattan. People expect good food, and when people go there, they expect things to be done promptly, quickly. Like, I can complain about customers for my business and their demands and how much work I have, but what I have to do is nothing compared to cooking for 50 to 60 to 100 people at a time that are all paying an amount where everything has to be perfect. And he was at the top of his field within several years because he didn't make excuses for himself. He didn't have the mindset of, oh, well, I don't like this about my life, but I guess I'm just going to live with it because of excuse A, excuse B, and excuse C. He created the change that he wanted to see in himself. When he didn't like things about his life, he simply said, I'm going to change it. Here's how I'm going to change it. He created a plan, and then he acted on that plan to see out the change in his life that he wanted. And it's that simple. Not really, because he actually got injured several times. See, my dad didn't have good joints. He had bad knees, he had bad rotator cuffs, he had bad everything. And this is before injury. So one time he fell, and again, he doesn't have good rotator cuffs or knees anyway, and he fell on this cleaning fluid, and he slipped, it ripped the cartilage in his knee, and he fell right on his rotator cuff, which was a double whammy, and just completely destroyed everything. And he still went to work. He was going to work with ripped, torn cartilage in his leg for 6 months. Now, again, I could probably get away with that. I sit at a chair like this. Would it be painful to walk and come to work with ripped cartilage? Sure. When you're a chef, you're doing this. You're like, let me grab this, let me grab that, let me grab this, let me get this off the stove. And then let's go back to the rotator cuff. Again, the chef is doing something like this in cutting, but much, much faster and more accurately than that. 12, 14, 17 hours a day. And he was doing all this while he was cooking food for 50 to 70 people at once. And again, this is not easy stuff. And eventually it got to the point where he wouldn't be able to do this for work anymore. And he noticed, he would need to change something in his life again. So he decided to shift back to an office job. Now, did he give up? Did he give up on working? Did he become a bum? No. He actually got a job at a staffing agency, at a culinary staffing agency, where they find chefs for your business if your chef can't come to work.